Hello and welcome to Module CCS 14 on Microbial Control Risk Assessments. This session will discuss microbial control risk assessments via the failure mode, effect and criticality analysis or FMEA method for pharmaceutical operations. In today's session, we will cover the essentials of the failure mode, effect and criticality analysis or FMEA risk assessment and their application in risk management. And more specifically, we will look at the basics of the FMEAs, the scoring system for FMEAs, using the Pharmalliance template for a microbial control risk assessment, and reviewing two practical examples interpreting graphical representations of the data. So what is a FMEA? FMEA is a failure mode, effect and criticality analysis and is a systematic method for evaluating potential failures within a system. It is sometimes also referred to as a FMEA with the word criticality omitted. It classifies risk based on severity, occurrence and detectability. It designs out identified issues in a cost-effective manner, minimizing both time and financial investments. The failure mode identifies defects or errors, potential or actual, in the product design or process, with particular emphasis on those affecting the customer or end user. The failure effect is the result of a failure mode on the product or system as perceived by the user. The FMEA process involves documenting your current knowledge about failure risks. In essence, it seeks to mitigate risks at all levels with resulting prioritized actions that will prevent failures or at least reduce their severity and their probability of occurrence. It defines and aids in selecting remedial activities that mitigate the impact and consequences of failures. It can be employed from the earliest design stages all the way through development and testing processes. The severity is the seriousness of the failure consequences of the failure effect. The failure effect severity is ranked from a scale from 1 to 3, with 1 being the lowest severity, 2 being a moderate severity, and 3 being the highest severity. The criteria for rating severity include the potential for causing injury or health hazards to users or operators, the degradation of product or process performance affecting functionality or efficacy, the violations of regulatory requirements or standards leading to legal or financial repercussions, and negative effects on customer perception leading to complaints or loss of business. Here's an example of a typical severity rating table, similar to that applied to Annex 1 risk assessments. On the left, we have the severity rating from 1 to 3, with 3 being the highest severity, 2 being moderate, and 1 being none or very minor severity. The description outlines the general requirements for assigning each severity rating. For example, a severity rating of 3 would include something like a failure in a sterile filtration system of an injectable drug production line, which results in microbial contamination of the final product. This contamination was only discovered after distribution, leading to several infections or fatalities amongst patients. This necessitates a product recall, halting production indefinitely, and triggers extensive regulatory investigation and legal actions. The impacts on patients' health and safety, along with operational financial repercussions, justify a severity rating of 3. A severity rating of 2 would include something such as a failure of a labeling machine, leading to some vials being labeled with smudged batch numbers that were in some instances difficult to read. This issue was identified during QC checks before batch is released. The affected vials would need to be relabeled, causing a temporary delay in release of the batch. However, there is no impact on the efficacy or safety of the drug itself. The inconvenience and potential minor delays in production or release would warrant a severity rating of 2. If there had been an incorrect drug or concentration labeled, this would be a very serious incident, potentially requiring a recall. A severity rating of 1 would include something like a typo in an internal non-critical document, such as a minor error in the formatting of a batch process record that does not affect the interpretation or understanding of the document. This error is easily corrected. Such a negligible issue will be assigned a severity rating of 1. The occurrence measures the frequency or likelihood of a failure mode happening, within a specified period. It is also rated on a scale from 1 to 3. 1 represents a very low likelihood of occurrence, 2 represents a moderate likelihood of occurrence, and 3 represents a high likelihood of occurrence. The criteria for rating occurrences should be based on past records of similar products or processes showing how often the failure has occurred, the use of statistical methods and predictive methods to estimate the likelihood of the failure, and insights from experienced personnel. Here's an example of a typical occurrence table rating. On the left we have the probability rating from 1 to 3, with 3 being the highest probability and 1 being a remote failure, which is unlikely to happen. The description outlines the general requirements for assigning each occurrence rating. For example, an occurrence rating of 3 would include something like a critical piece of laboratory equipment used for measuring drug concentration has a known defect in its calibration system that causes frequent failures. The defect is such that it results in calibration issues every day, leading to incorrect measurements and impacting test results. The frequency occurrence of calibration failures will be rated with an occurrence rating of 3 due to its daily reoccurrence and significant impact on data accuracy. An occurrence rating of 2 would be something such as a packaging machine used for bottling pharmaceutical products that occasionally experience issues with label misalignment. This problem happens about twice a year and leads to minor inefficiencies and occasional labeling errors that need to be corrected during quality control checks. The moderate frequency of this would result in an occurrence rating of 2, reflecting its occasional impact on production. An occurrence rating of 1 would include something such as an advanced filtration system used in the production of sterile injectable drugs, have an extremely low probability of causing contamination due to its high quality design and rigorous maintenance schedule. Historical data and preventative measures show that batch-to-batch contamination has occurred less than once every 4 years. This very rare likelihood of occurrence would be assigned an occurrence rating of 1, indicating a remote chance of failure. For detection, this measures the ability to detect a failure mode before it causes an adverse effect on the product or processes. It is also rated on a scale from 1 to 3, where 1 represents a very high likelihood of detecting the failure, 2 represents a moderate likelihood of detecting the failure, and 3 represents a very low likelihood of detecting the failure. The criteria for rating detection is based on the effectiveness of current controls and detection methods, such as the thoroughness and reliability of inspection and testing procedures, the use of automated detection systems, and the reliability of human inspection and human errors. Here's an example of a typical detection rating table. On the left we have the detection rating from 1 to 3, with 3 being the hardest to detect, 1 being the easiest to detect. The description outlines the general requirements for assigning each detection rating. For example, a detection rating of 3 would include something like a specific type of rare contaminant in raw materials used in drug manufacturing that is not identifiable with current testing methods. The contaminant does not trigger any detectable changes in the raw material properties, and there are no existing tests capable of identifying this contaminant. Therefore, if the contaminant is present, it will go unnoticed through the current quality controls and might lead to issues in the final product without any warning. This situation would necessitate a detection rating of 3 due to complete inability to detect the failure mode with existing controls. A detection rating of 2 includes something such as during production of a pharmaceutical product, variations in the potency of active ingredients occasionally occur due to inconsistency in supplier batches. These variations are detectable through routine potency testing, but the test may not catch all variations immediately. The issue might be identified during routine quality control checks, but there is a moderate risk that some deviations may slip through or not be detected until later stages of production. This results in a detection rating of 2. A detection rating of 1 would be something such as a stability chamber used for storing pharmaceutical products that is equipped with advanced temperature sensors and alarms. These sensors continually monitor the chamber's temperature and are highly reliable. In the event that a temperature deviation from the set range occurs, the system triggers immediate alarms and corrective actions can be taken promptly. This high level of monitoring and control ensures that any temperature fluctuations are detected, therefore giving this a failure mode level of 1. Thank you for watching this introduction to this module. If you'd like to watch the remainder and get 25% off our Contamination Control Fundamental program, head over to our website at pharmalliance.ie/training-programs and use code YT25OFF. Please do it now as spaces are limited and it's expiring soon. Thank you for your time and we'll see you on the next module.